where a football game or a film gala gets more media attention than the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced.
Look at these people.
Where celebrities, film and pop stars who have stood up against all injustices will not stand up for the environment and for climate justice, because that would inflict on their right to fly around the world, visiting their favorite restaurants, beaches and yoga retreats.
Thinking woman pose. I mean, these people can't believe what they're saying.
Where a football game or a film gala gets more media attention than the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced.
The biggest crisis humanity has ever faced. I am not one to emphasize credentials or lack of credentials. But every now and again, there's an occasion where the stunning lack of credentials and the stunning presence of other issues are wildly relevant. Everybody agrees pollution is bad. When you see turtles floating in the ocean because they've got something called bubble butt, and that's not a joke, it's literally what it is. Turtles eat jellyfish. In the oceans, floating plastics look like jellyfish. The turtles eat the pieces of floating plastic. They obviously can't digest them. They get stuck in their lower bowels and basically produce gas or trap gas. And so the turtle has internal gas and is unable to regulate its buoyancy and ends up floating from the butt because it can't digest the plastics that it has inadvertently eaten because it thought it was jellyfish. Yes, pollution is bad. Hands down. Oil spills are bad. Hands down. One should minimize one's footprint on the earth. Hands down. To go from there to saying the greatest climate crisis humanity has ever known, forget like meteorites that might have hit the earth 15,000 years ago, forget whatever. The climate justice now. It's like they're trying to run the same playbook that they ran with COVID, with climate emergency, if it's the greatest crisis facing humanity in the history of humanity, they better lock us down and not let us drive our cars. Now, I do happen to agree with her on the outright, overt, flaming hypocrisy, carbon-emitting hypocrisy. Justin Trudeau, Biden flying around on Air Force One and whatever the heck the Canadian equivalent is, their private jets, jet-setting life, meeting up with the G7s or whomever, wherever they meet up on those islands or in Europe, Davos to talk about, they go to Davos, they fly to Davos to lecture on carbon emissions. They hide behind their fenced-in communities on Davos to lecture about open borders. The hypocrisy, there's nothing wrong with pointing out hypocrisy. There is something wrong with continuing to parade around a young adult. Now, she's no longer a child. Parading a young adult with clear, admitted, diagnosed psychological conditions, which might make her judgment on the imminence of not tragedy, but rather urgency, fear, panic, might have something to do with that compromised perception of reality. But continue parading her around, exploiting her, zero credentials, so she can parrot the same talking points they've been parroting. Y'all remember, maybe I should pull this one up. Yeah, let me pull this over. Global cooling. I mean, who's old enough to remember global cooling? I hear a kid talking. I hear a kid screaming. I hear a kid screaming. I have no idea why, but my wife is here. Global cooling, people. We're sharing it right now. Global cooling. I remember this. We were in the tail end of it in the early 80s, I think. Global cooling was a conjecture, especially during the 1970s, of imminent cooling of the Earth, culminating in a period of extensive glaciation due to the cooling effects of aerosols or orbital forcing. We went from global cooling I mean, literally, it's like it's Orwell. Literally midway through the speech. No, guys, tear that up. Here's the new one. It's global warming. Oh, wait, no, it's no longer global warming anymore. Global warming is a long-term heating of the Earth's surface observed since the pre-industrial period due to human activities, primarily fossil. Oh, but now it's just called climate change because they've now, it's because it's not cooling everywhere. And, you're having massive rainfalls and snow in places of the world that don't typically get snow. So how do you fit that in with global warming? Just change the word. Stuff, weather. Weather is the biggest evidence of this crisis, which they're going to now milk and exploit and bilk for the purposes of whipping the world into a frenzy and tamping down the exact same way they did during COVID due to climate emergency. There was one, here. This is the one I wanted to bring up here. Let's just bring this up like so. Just anything that, admittedly, that any one-off gets exploited as further evidence of this theory called climate change. Why can't I open up a window? What the heck is my problem here? Open up a window. Anything. We've only been keeping recorded temperature for like 150 years. I mean, we're only coming out of an ice age, but anything and everything, however sporadic it might be. Here we go. Look at this. And by the way, look at the graphics. Panic, fear. This is like Vegas. This is like Vegas gambling porn, except it's with climate change fear porn. Look at the colors. Thailand surpassed 45 degrees Celsius for the first time ever. That's hot, by the way. No question. That's hot. If we go back, though, let's just look at this here. Look at that. Remember when it snowed in Los Angeles? What was that, 2016? No, that's 2019. What was the other one? Snow in the Sahara. It's climate change. And it all results from the same identified cause, carbon emissions. So we better get all of our politicians flying around the world to lecture everybody on carbon emissions, banning wood stoves in Montreal, 15-minute cities, because your cars are what's polluting, not those jets that they use to fly around to lecture you, not those oil tankers that carry your electric vehicles or your electric vehicle battery components from some mine in Africa to California. Do you know what the biggest polluters are? I think like the 7 largest cargo liners or those freight liners across the ocean, the 7 largest boats that carry shit across the ocean emit more pollution than all the cars on Earth, something along those lines. Don't quote me on that, but in essence, those freight liners, those ocean freight liners, those massive ships emit more emissions than tens of millions of cars. But no, you live in a 15-minute city. You're going to have your freaking microwave bagels. You don't get your wood stove bagels anymore. No bagels for you. Oh, and then just forget about all the other crap that goes into those electric vehicles. Like even if they are green from the moment of purchase to the moment of disposal, what happens after disposal, I'm not sure that it's so green. What goes into those green vehicles? What goes into charging those green vehicles? Nobody's asked. Nobody cares. Doesn't matter. It's the contagion on climate change is the same thing as the contagion of trans stuff. It's the same thing as the war on women. It has now become unquestioned dogma. And if you dare question climate change or the solutions that they're proposing to the problem that they've identified, you are an anti-science climate denier. If you dare say no biological males in female sports, you're a transphobe, bigot, whatever, turf, if you want to call you that. I don't know how that works with me, but okay, so that's it. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm drinking a V8. It's an energy drink. It's actually, it's not bad. 50 calories per can, not terrible. 50% juice, not terrible. 80 milligrams of caffeine, just enough. What have we got today? What have we got today? The war on women. It's a war on women. Okay, I never thought I'd call myself a feminist. I'm not a feminist. I'm a humanist. I'm not out there defending women as though women need me to defend them. I am defending individual human rights. I'm also, probably also advocating for women now, because once upon a time, a lot of people said in this debate about the trans debate, you know, male athletes competing in female sports, that's a woman's issue. Let them fight it. Wrong. You have a mother, you have a sister, you have a wife, you have a daughter. It's everybody's issue at this point in time. But it is unequivocally turning into a war on women. We're going to talk about that. I got to shut down my email. I'm getting absolutely distracted by too much binging from emails. Before we get into any of it, we're going to go to Rumble after I drop off on locals. I'm going to do one of the controversial topics on YouTube, because I do not leave YouTube so that I can go say on Rumble that which I can't say on YouTube. I am exclusive with Rumble now, and I will continue to use YouTube as a tool, but Rumble has become my primary platform, and I love it. Locals is our primary community. vivabarneslaw.locals.com, where you should go, join, become a member if you want to support the work that Robert and I do. vivabarneslaw.locals.com. $7 a month or $70 a year, a ton of exclusive content and a ton of massive community content. It's a wonderful community where, like Robert Barnes says, our community is above average. And we're having our second meet and greet Saturday night on, what is it called, a steamboat or a riverboat on the Tennessee River in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is going to be phenomenal. Other ways to support, and I just saw one from Heart Tackle. Heart Tackle, made in America fishing tackle. I love this. This is like hashtag not an ad. I'm just reading a super chat, but I happen to know they've sent me tackle in the past, and it's good. Heart Tackle, I need some of it now in Florida, actually, because I used it up in Quebec, and the fish out here are different. Heart Tackle, made in America, quality fishing tackle. No bagels, no way. This will cause an uprising. I need me wood-fired bagels. Great before early morning fishing. You can't have bagels that are not made with a wood stove. Okay, sorry, before we get into everything, no medical advice, no election fortification advice, no legal advice are the 3 disclaimers. Thank you for the super chats. Just so you all know, YouTube takes 30% of those super chats. So if you don't want to support YouTube, you can rumble on over to Rumble, where we are. Make sure that we're good here. Simultaneously streaming. Good. 2,137 people as of now. Rumble has these things called Rumble Rants. Ordinarily, Rumble takes 20% of the Rumble Rant, except for the rest of 2023, the creator gets 100% of Rumble Rants. What do they call them? Subscriber badges on Rumble. It's an amazing thing. It's quite generous. Obviously, there's a self-interest in the generous. It's going to bring people over to Rumble. And as of next year, it's going to bring more people over to Rumble, so that when Rumble goes back to taking their 20%, as they are well within their rights as a company to do, thank goodness for them for having built what they do. When they take their 20% in 2024, there's going to be more people on Rumble, and there's going to be more people amenable to dropping these Rumble Rants on Rumble. And you can go to locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. I will be reading the Rumble Rants and the locals tips that I did not get to yesterday after our amazing stream with Brett Weinstein. Sorry, Brett Weinstein. He's actually, we know it's how to pronounce it now. Okay, that's all my disclaimer stuff. What else? As far as the climate stuff went, I think I got all the climate stuff. Okay. Let's get to the war on women, because it's a war on women now. It can't be more clear. I'm just going to pull up the graphic. There was a vote in the House. I always get mixed up between the House and the Senate. There's a vote in the House on, CNN is calling it the anti-trans bill. I mean, this is like, framing is everything. CNN is calling it the anti-trans, not the pro-woman bill, the anti-trans bill, because the bill seeks to prevent biological males, and I keep using the term biological to qualify it, but that's going to have to be the semantic compromise, that whether or not you agree with it, we're going to have to agree on that qualification, as though there's any other type of male in this world, but biological versus those who try to change their exterior appearance and hormone balances in order to turn themselves into something that they are biologically not. Framing is everything. So the House is voting on this bill. CNN calls it the anti-trans bill because it seeks to preclude biological males from competing in women's sports in events that are funded with federal dollars. I'll pull up the bill summary in a second. House passes anti-trans sports bill. So understand what CNN is saying right now. CNN does not view this bill as one that seeks to protect Title IX women rights. They see this bill as one that is it's transphobic. It's a transphobic bill to say that biological males, those born with the XY chromosome, cannot compete in female sports. If that's how they view things, then we just have to understand that CNN is anti-woman. CNN is a misogynist, male chauvinist, biological supremacist entity, outlet, and should be regarded as such, should be treated as such, and should be labeled as such. Elon, do you have biological supremacists as a header for news? If CNN views this bill, which seeks to protect women's rights, as anti-trans, that means CNN is anti-woman. So the House was before the Senate. No, not that. I'm sorry. It was the bill was before the House, not the Senate. Apparently, it's not going to get past the Senate because Republicans don't have a majority in the Senate. But this image will, capture at a moment in time where we are as society right now. Here it is. Ban transgender athletes in girls' sports. Framing is everything. I would not call it ban transgender athletes. I would say protect women's sports. I don't know who decides on this byline here, but ban transgender? No. We're just transgender athletes have all the freedom in the world to compete in the sport of their chromosome, the sport category of their chromosome. I'd call it protect women athletic sports, protect girls sports. Okay, here we go. On passage, HR, what does that mean? House of Representatives. All right. Republican, 219 vote yay in support of the bill. Democrats, 203 vote nay. 10 not voting, totals yada yada. So it passes the House, but probably will not pass the Senate. And then there was a threat from Mr. I meet with biological males to discuss the joys of girlhood, POTUS, Joe Biden, saying he was going to threaten to veto, even if it happened to get past the Senate. But why is this? It's an interesting debate now to be forcing publicly. It is an interesting, and credit to the Republicans, I guess, for credit to the Republicans for forcing the debate on biology. The people who called Republicans and Trump supporters anti-science because they didn't want to be compelled to take a warp speed, novel, experimental jibby jab, the people lecturing them on science are voting against a bill that would preclude biological males from competing against biological females. It's insanity. They're forcing it, and they're making a public discussion about it. And I look, privately, I haven't met very many people who actually buy into any of this crap. Publicly, it's a much different matter. Nobody wants to say anything publicly because, you might get the Riley Gaines treatment if you're a celebrity, or if you have a job that relies on a let's just say a boss that can be influenced by social media or public opinion, seemingly public opinion, which is actually just a very vocal minority. You can't speak out. That being said, they can't fire you all. And they can't fire you all. And at some point, it should not be a source of shame or fear to state the obvious. But like George Orwell said, in times of madness, stating the obvious is a revolutionary act. Or in times of lies, speaking the truth is a revolutionary act. In times of universal deceit, speaking the truth is a universal act. Now I just forgot the expression. You know what I meant. So that bill gets past the House, will probably get voted down by the Senate if they ever take it up. I'm not exactly sure how all that works because I'm still a Canadian schnook at heart. But then even if it by some miracle passes the Senate, then in theory, POTUS has the veto power. The only issue is that by some miracle, it gets past the Senate, where Democrats in the Senate say, okay, enough of this party crap. We're the party of minority rights, and we're compelling women to compete against biological men, to sit in a locker room and be exposed to the genitalia of men who somehow identify as women and think that makes it okay. I was on with Megyn Kelly yesterday. Megyn Kelly and Vinny Pino. He's a Court TV lawyer. I forget his last name, and I don't mean to be mean. I just so I'm with Megyn Kelly, and we were talking about this Kappa Gamma frat house lawsuit where 7 sorority sisters are suing. It's Kappa Gamma. I don't know. Sororities and frats are not big in Canada, and I was never into any of them, but Kappa Gamma. It's a 170-year-old fraternity in Wisconsin, I think, with the stated bylaw objective of being a club for ladies of good reputation and good standing. They have to have like a 2.7 GPA. If you guys haven't heard of the story, you got to go. Maybe I'll pull up the article. They're being sued by 7 sorority girls because they allowed in a transgender, also known as a biological male, into the sorority. This biological male who, claims to identify as a woman, got into the sorority despite having a GPA of 1.9, not the required 2.7, got in not because the sorority voted him in, but because he, played the rules a little bit and got the various chapters to do something of an email vote, which would not have been anonymous. People had to vote by email addresses. So if they voted against it, they would have been deemed to be, bigoted and whatever. This dude, who says he's a woman, but has male genitalia that had been not the genitalia had not been viewed by the sorority girls, but he had his hand on it, pillows over it. It was erect when he was in the dormitories or whatever it is, watching these sorority girls change, asking like what their vaginas looked like, all these, what typical girls do. So I was on Megyn Kelly talking about it yesterday, and Megyn Kelly got, rather irritated by the entire state of insanity of the world. And I told Megyn Kelly what I told you guys last week. 5 years ago, Jeffrey Rush was getting #MeToo. Back when the Democrats cared about women, allegedly for exposing his genitalia to women on set of a film. And now women are getting called TERFs if they're lesbian or feminists, getting called bigoted if they don't want to be exposed to the male genitalia of a male who thinks that they're a female or wants to be a female. Someone says, lucky guy. No, apparently it's like, and we were talking about it, and Vinny came up with a great idea. Sue the sorority for breaking their rules and sue the individual for sexual harassment. And I said, well, they're going to say, well, if he identifies as a girl. Well, girls can sexually harass other girls. Sitting there asking to talk about a girl's vagina, as if that's what girls do, and sitting around looking at girls get changed. Even if you're a girl, it could be creepy and inappropriate. It's a war on women. And it's being led by the Democrats, spearheaded by the Democrats under the pretext of loving kindness for trans, whatever that means these days. When what is it? It's nothing more, but it's nothing else other than what is now proving to be historical, superficial exploitation of minority groups until you no longer need them. Then the Democrats move on to their next host. It's political parasitism. Democrats will sit there defending minority rights, defending black rights, defending women's rights until they either no longer need them or they can just, comfortably rely on their vote anyhow. Then they throw them under the bus and move on to the next flavor of the day. Let me just pull up. Let me just pull up one more here. Who? It was Ayanna Pressley. Where is this? Oh, come on, Dave. Here we go. Look at this. This will bring us into the next chapter of this. They will exploit whatever the newest group is that they can use, weaponize, exploit for political purposes, always under the pretext of benevolence, loving, caring, kindness. And then they will throw them under the bus when they no longer need them for political purposes. Listen to this, by the way. Listen to this. 40. I mean, there's more time to, and don't make fun of the way she looks, everybody. I see some comments on Twitter. I just made fun of Adam Kinzinger for using, juvenile insults on people. Let's be better than that and stick to substance, because there's enough in the substance here to rail against Pressley. Listen to this.
Rise today in solidarity with our children across the nation. I want to speak plainly to our trans kids. You belong. You are enough. You deserve to show up fully in this world. You deserve joy and every single opportunity. You are perfect just as you are.
Book asterisk that. Put an asterisk there. Remind me to come back to that.
In the classroom and on the soccer field, you should not be subject to discrimination. You should be able to just be a kid. I will always be in your corner. To anyone who supports this cruel bill, shame on you. You want to advance policy on behalf of our kids? This isn't it. Ban assault weapons so they can live to the last school bell. Get out your soapbox and stop politicking with our kids' lives. Rise.
There are so many things wrong with this. First of all,
rise today in solidarity with our children across the nation. I want to speak plainly to our trans kids.
First of all, when Justin Trudeau says, I want to talk to the kids out there, there are rules in marketing, rules in advertising. You can't target kids directly. You do not have permission to talk to my kids. Madam Presley, Mr. Trudeau, politicians, you do not have permission to talk to my kids. In fact, I teach my kids not to talk to strangers, certainly not political, awful, disgusting human beings. You don't have permission to talk to kids, to address them directly as if they are even watching this in the first place. So other than being wildly inappropriate, sorry, let me rephrase that. Other than being shameless, virtue signaling for social media currency, it's also wildly inappropriate to dare to talk directly to kids. You're not their parents. You have no business talking to them. So don't do it.
You belong. You are enough. You deserve to show up fully in this world. You deserve joy and every single opportunity.
She's only speaking to trans kids? So do little girls not deserve joy and every opportunity, like the opportunity to compete equally in competitive sports? No. F you, cis children. I'm only talking to trans kids right now. They deserve every opportunity. What opportunity is being denied from trans kids, Presley? Tell me now. You have 3 seconds. I mean, they don't answer these. They don't answer these tweets. They don't answer these questions. The hard questions or the obvious questions, they don't answer. What right has been denied from any kid who claims to be trans? What one right has been taken from them? The right to compete in the category of your choice is not a right. Some might say that's a privilege, but that's not the right to compete. The right to be treated equally, yes, that has not been. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir because everybody with half a brain knows this. There's not one right that has been denied from any kid who claims to be trans. Full stop. That was a cup on the table. It wasn't what you thought it was. But you know what rights are being taken away? The right for a girl or a woman, a female, to compete fairly where they have their rights protected based on legislation which recognizes science and biological facts. But it gets even worse because she's not done yet making no sense and being an outright hypocrite in what she says. Listen to this.
You are perfect just as you are.
You are perfect just as you are, trans kids. Do you hear that? You don't need to go cut your breasts off or cut your penis off or take hormone blockers or puberty blockers and screw with your body for the rest. You're perfect just the way you are. But we better go cut off your titties and cut off your wieners and jack you full of puberty blockers that are going to screw up your bone density, reproductive abilities, ability to achieve orgasm. You're perfect just the way you are, but let's go mutilate your body to make you feel better in the moment because that's what we've told you have to do. You're perfect just the way you are. You're made in the image of God. Now let's go play Frankenstein with your body.
In the classroom and on the soccer field, you should not be subject to discrimination.
You know who was subject to discrimination? Not my kid, but my kid's friends in Canada, in Quebec, when they went to try out for soccer, and a 13-year-old girl, 2 of them, were told to step off the field because they weren't vaccinated and they didn't have a goddamn vaccine passport. And they said, show me your phone and show me your QR code, cattle. Oh, sorry, you don't have one? You can't try out for soccer. Where are these bloody hypocrites when it comes to actual children being denied actual rights? Maybe that's Canada. I'm not sure where in the States they were implementing a vaccine passport on children. I'm sure they were. So I have no idea. But it's like Trudeau comes out and says, I'm pro-choice for women. Your body, your choice. Unless it's the vaccine, then it's your body, my choice. You should be able to compete everywhere, but vaccine passports, and you can't sit down here, you dirty child, if you're not vaccinated.
You should be able to just be a kid.
You know what just being a kid means? Puberty. You know what just being a kid means? No Frankensteinian genital mutilation surgery. Because you're perfect just the way you are. Isn't that what she said?
I will always be in your corner. To anyone who supports this cruel bill, shame on you.
Well, Ayanna Presley's not entering competitive sports anytime soon, so she won't have to worry about it. This is the problem, John. You're right. Viva trying to use logic in these dystopian times. It is the problem. Everybody watching now knows. This is not like it's almost like insulting that this has to be said. Anybody who doesn't know will never know. And anybody who wants to take anything here, I don't think anything can even be taken out of, take something here and say bigoted, denying trans rights, anyone who wants to do that, they know what they're doing. There was somebody on Twitter lecturing Megyn Kelly, somebody with the pronouns he, him in his bio, saying that Megyn Kelly was having an episode on her show and showing her transphobia because Megyn Kelly, a woman, is saying enough is enough. Biological males do not get to compete in women's sports. They don't get to join women's sororities. They don't get to go into women prisons where all of a sudden, after you have trans prisoners getting into women's facilities, you have pregnant women in prison. You are literally capturing and imprisoning women to then throw them to the hen house. Let me rephrase that. Lock them in the hen house while you let in the fox. It's just an amazing thing. The second you start having trans prisoners in female prisons, women start getting pregnant. You are victimizing women and forcibly confining them, literally, when they are already forcibly confined, and exposing them to predators. Oh no, but Megyn Kelly is having an episode when she gets mad about that. This seems to bother Viva a little bit. Kincaid, everything's been bothering me a little bit these days. Everything. The climate nonsense. But can you believe this? It's a contagion over, let's just even say it's 1% of the population, but it's not. It's 0.1% of a population of people who, I say this with love and respect, and there's no but to this. There are a lot of people suffer from certain mental conditions, mental disorders, whether or not it's generalized anxiety, OCD, manic bipolar disease. I mean, a lot of people have mental issues. Gender dysphoria is a diagnosable mental condition. It can cause greater or lesser degrees of distress in the individual suffering from it. It can require greater or less invasive methods of treatment. It is a diagnosable mental illness under the DSM-5. And Canada has criminalized treating it. Full stop. Canada has criminalized conversion therapy, which consists of therapy of convincing or reassuring or telling someone who thinks that they, a boy born as a girl, that they might grow out of it. There's ways to deal with it. That's illegal in Canada now. Canada has criminalized psychiatrists from doing their job. How it should irritate everybody. It is a sign of a society in decay. It's a sign of powers that be driving wedges in society by exploiting the smallest of minorities who, until the last 5 years, were getting along. They have what they have to work through. But it was never an issue of forcing Leah Thomases on Brittany Griners until 5 years ago. It's actual madness. It's madness, and I don't even know. That's it. But it's like at least people are getting more comfortable speaking out against the madness, and with any luck, sanity will prevail, and we will preserve the video evidence, the meme evidence, the social media posts, the tweets of these people who have lost their freaking minds. All right, well, I think that's it on that issue. And that's all I have to say about that. Let me just see something here. Let me just make sure that there are no more to pull up there. We're going to get to Justin Trudeau and Dominion and Fox. Let's see here. Just make sure that we got it. Oh, no, yeah, sorry. Here's the summary of the bill, by the way. Just the summary. Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. Okay, so they didn't go. It wasn't called the trans ban. It was called the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. Good. I don't think conservatives need to get better at the culture war. I think it's. I don't think it's a conservative versus liberal issue, but it will help when there is a pushback in the culture war that knows how to use the tactics without becoming the monsters. This bill generally prohibits athletic. This bill generally prohibits school athletic programs from allowing individuals whose biological sex at birth was male to participate in programs that are for women or girls. Oh my God, it's a bloody outrage. That's a bloody outrage. It is. I'm going straight to be member of Parliament. Specifically, the bill provides that it is a Title IX. It is a violation of the Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. Federally funded education activities to operate, sponsor, or facilitate programs or activities that allow individuals of the male sex to participate in programs or activities that are designed for women or girls. That's not so radical. Hey, you want to do what you want to do with your body? God bless you. I hope you don't regret it. What you don't get to do is then say, well, now I get to compete against women. You don't. Do what you want to do with your body. And if the procedure, if the hormones that you take might cause you to have a disadvantage against the biological being of the people that you don't want to compete against, well, congratulations. Now you know what the women are going through. And in fact, wow, everybody should probably use that exact phrasing right there. You know, a male who wants to become make their exterior and potentially part of their interior look like female, well, they'll have to take testosterone. They'll have to take, hormone blockers or testosterone blockers, and they'll take estrogen. I don't know what they take, but whatever they do take would certainly put them at a disadvantage at competing against their own biological sex who are not taking those hormone affecting medications. So they would be at a hormonal disadvantage, a physiological disadvantage in competing against males who are not doing that. Well, congratulations. Now you know exactly how the women feel. But my rights, trump your rights. Not my rights that result from a purely voluntary decision that I make about my own body, trump your rights and the body that you were born with. Let me see here. Under the bill, sex is based on an individual's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. That's actually a decent compromise because that would actually leave a solution to the problem of people who are, what do they call them? There's another word for the actual medical condition of people who are born with both genitalias or an unidentifiable one. Biology and genetics at birth. The bill does not prohibit male individuals from training or participating with programs or activities for women or girls as long as such training or practice does not deprive any female of corresponding opportunities or benefits. Congratulations, Democrats, at least Democrats of the House. You have unanimously voted against protecting women from that. Okay, that's really all I have to say on that. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, good. We got it. All right, so here's, how do I hear my voice? I hear my voice. I don't want to hear that. All right, now we're going to move over to Rumble, people. It's nothing better than spontaneously hearing my own voice. It's very, very disconcerting. Oh, hold on. Before we go over to Rumble exclusively, how did we get to this point and so fast? Oh, it's like bankruptcy. Bankruptcy happens very slowly, then all at once. Moral, ideological, political bankruptcy, exact same thing. Very slowly, then all at once. Now let me just go present and we'll just read two Rumble rants, and then we'll get over to Rumble. How ironic that American and Canadian Nazis lined up and peer pressured everyone else to get the same barcodes while the German Nazis only. Okay, SDF. First of all, thank you for the Rumble rant. $2, $5 from Fraser McBurney. I'm 75 years old. When I was a kid, I lived in Montreal and Rawdon at the Four Chiottes back in the 60s. Les Quatre Chiottes. We were swimming at the end of May. Fun. So much for climate change. Rawdon is a place that's like midway between Montreal and Ottawa. think my father used to own an apartment building in Rawdon. Anyhow, it's an interesting place. Okay, people, let's mosey on over to the Rumble side. Let's rumble over. Where am I putting the link? I'm going to put the link here. Going over to Rumble. I'm gonna rub my nose and end it on YouTube. Trudeau, Kinzinger. There's a lot of fun stuff. Trudeau. Oh my goodness. Just going to whet your appetite. The Trudeau bit is going to be fantastic. Okay, ending on YouTube, moving over to Rumble, and then we're going to go over to locals after that. Ending on YouTube in 3, 2,